So as you're preparing for class, you'll want some kind of like bolster, pillow, cushion. Um, Up here, we're gonna lay on that here to start. You might want some more height underneath your head. I always like to have the blocks close by, so just kind of keep setting up until until it feels about right for you. We're gonna start in reclined cobbler's pose. So creating a little stack behind your back, and then maybe a little bit of something extra for underneath your head. We'll bring the lower back to your stack and then start to lower yourself on to your bolster or cushions. I'm gonna make a little extra height underneath my neck. And then we've got lots of options today. You could find constructive rest legs here with your feet standing up near the edges of your mat and your knees resting together at the center. It might feel a little nicer on your low back, or you could try bringing the soles of your feet together and letting your knees come out to the sides. Even if your hips are very open and you don't feel that you need blocks or support underneath the thighs or the knees, go ahead and just give yourself that support anyway, so that your body knows you're not going to end up relaxing too far. I like support, reminders of support. And continue to kind of watch as the pose unfolds. Sometimes after a few breaths or a few moments, you notice a little adjustment might be needed. Maybe your arms reaching out wide, or maybe you could rest your elbows on the floor and then your hands like on the low rib cage. There's lots of different ways to explore. But once you find comfort, let's invite in a sense of rest, of softening. Let yourself be supported by the props, supported by your home. Letting the muscles around your eyes soften. Creating just a little more space between your eyebrows. So relaxed. If it's easy and available to you, finding that proper oral posture, nasal breathing, sealing your lips, relaxing your jaw so that there's just a tiny hint of space between the biting surfaces of your teeth, and gently resting or pressing your tongue up on the roof of your mouth with as much of your tongue making contact with the roof of your mouth as you can. Sensing or imagining that your nostrils, your nasal passageways are opening and clearing, so each breath gets just a little easier and smoother. Letting the lead of the smooth nasal breathing convince other parts of the body to relax, become oxygenated. Oxygenated, is that the word? Nourished, maybe, is another word. Exploring perhaps the edges of the inhales and exhales. Is it possible and comfortable to breathe in just a little bit more? Or extend your exhale, continuing to let air out beyond your normal stopping point? You might realize little more spaciousness or capacity there. And then softening back into a steady yet deep flow of breath. If you would like to set a dedication for today's restorative and stretchy yoga practice, feel free to bring something to mind right now. Knowing that we're gonna be here for about 10 more breaths or so. Really try to savor the stillness, savor each part of the inhale and the exhale. Doing your best to allow ease throughout your experience. Will mostly stay reclined here for the next couple of poses, but for now, just invite in a little bit of a wiggle of fingers and toes. We're gonna keep this soft sleepiness to it as we let the head kind of rock from one side to the other. If your knees were out wide, making your way, using your hands to help your knees back up to the center. A constructive rest pose, legs so the feet now walking out toward the edges of the mat and the knees coming together. Let's reach the arms up and overhead. And kind of like a half long body stretch, the arms, upper body lengthening, reaching, maybe wiggling fingers or circling your wrists. Bring your arms out wide at some point as well, stretching the front of the chest, the front of the shoulders. And then bringing your arms back down by your sides. Let's toe heel the feet toward the center of your mat. Your knees will still be bent. Let's straighten the left leg. So just the right knee is bent. We're gonna do a couple of we're gonna kind of wake up the right hip here. So keeping your upper body kind of relaxed. We have a subtle engagement through the core here as we slowly open the right knee out toward the right side. Keeping somewhat engaged on the way down, so we're lowering with control. And then bring your right knee back up so your right foot plants on the mat. Go ahead and do this a number of times. Again, keeping a sense of ease here, just a gentle awakening of that right hip. Your choice how far you let the right knee open out. You might notice other parts of your body kind of helping out. Maybe your left leg. I'm noticing a little extra engagement through the left leg. Depending on so many things, you might You might feel a little fatigued through the right hip. If that's the case, you can stop anytime or maybe just hang out there with the knee out wide. The next 2 or 3 breaths, we will meet up with the right knee up and the right foot planted. And then tucking your chin toward your chest, bringing your forearms to the floor, and then sitting on up. We'll grab hold of the right knee or shin and just sit up nice and tall. If you can, we'll flex through that left foot and ankle, pulling the toes back towards yourself, sitting up nice and tall. And then we'll twist to the right. So the left arm can continue to hold on to the right leg as you bring your right arm behind you, maybe up on your props if you want. So we're kind of pulling as we twist and kind of get a stretch through that left shoulder here too. With an inhale, let's turn just the head. So keeping the rest of the body still, turning your head toward the left, inhale. Exhale, turning to look toward the right. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, look to the left. Exhale, to the right. 1 last time, to the left. 1 last time, to the right. All right, coming back to center, let your right knee come out. So now we're, same kind of position, but we're seated this time. Your right hand can come behind you. We're gonna shift up onto, make sure you have some cushioning underneath this right shin. We're kind of gonna shift up onto the right shin, press the hips up, and reach over and back. A nice stretch for the left side. This is almost like a side plank in a way, like a supported side plank a little bit here. So you might explore reaching forward a little bit or kind of leaning back. You're gonna explore sensation here. And eventually sitting back down. We'll transition to the other side, first by straightening the right leg, bending your left knee. Hold on to your left knee and slowly recline back onto your props. Release that left knee once you get there, getting set back up, support underneath your back. And when the timing is right, go ahead and let your left knee open up toward the left side, keeping a soft engagement there through the left hip, the left glutes, end of the core, bringing your left knee back up to center. We're just lifting and lowering here a few times. Of course, well, not of course, but hopefully, many of us know about how good stretching can feel for our joints and muscles, but you may have heard me say this before, stretching and strengthening combined just have exponentially more valuable results. So we are doing a little bit of both here. Taking time to stretch and this subtle movement patterning and strengthening. If that hip starts feeling fatigued, you can rest somewhere. Otherwise, we're gonna meet up here in the next couple of breaths with the left foot planted and the left knee reaching up toward the sky. Whenever that time comes in your own delicate way, let's tuck the chin toward the chest, start to come up onto the forearms, and then press your way up to that seat, grabbing hold of your left knee or shin and trying your best to sit up nice and tall, flexing, pulling the right toes back towards yourself, sitting up nice and tall. This feels like a power pose to me for some reason. It just feels powerful. Okay, now we're twisting to the left, so that left hand finding support behind you, maybe on your stack of blocks, grabbing and holding onto the right knee. This time we're inhaling as we look to the left behind us, and exhaling, turning just your head to the right. Inhale, gazing left. Exhale, right. Just one more like that. Inhaling to the left. And exhaling to the right. All right, coming out of that twist, bringing the left knee out toward the floor. The right hand will come back behind us. We're shifting up onto that left shin and finding our little side bend, back bend. You might bend and straighten that top arm, or reach forward or back a little bit. We're playing with sensation here and stretch, so do your thing. Eventually coming back down to a seat. This time we'll bring both feet in together in a comfortable seat, sitting up on props if that's more comfortable. And I just read an article today about how being seated on the floor can help us maintain mobility and flexibility throughout our lives. So let's just practice sitting here. So again, getting the support you need, lifting up through the crown of your head, maybe closing your eyes just so you can feel like an internal sense of alignment here. I like the idea of kind of stacking the vertebrae on top of one another in such a way that it's as easy as possible to stay upright. Find that flowing breath, relaxing the belly and finding diaphragmatic breath, belly expanding with the inhales and everything softening with your exhales. Letting your right ear come toward your right shoulder. Tilting your chin down toward the right shoulder. And up toward the sky a couple times. Just twisting up and down here on the right side. Looking down. Looking up. If you're curious for more sensation, you might try tucking your left arm behind your low back. And again, twisting downward and upward. Eventually releasing that left arm, bringing your chin down toward the center of your chest, noticing the back of your neck, the tops of your shoulders. And then letting your left ear come toward your left shoulder. Pause. Eventually twisting, reaching your chin more downward toward the left shoulder, and then up toward the sky. A couple times on this side. If you want different sensation, tucking your right arm behind your low back. Continuing that kind of twisty movement. Eventually releasing that, letting your chin come back down toward the center of your chest. Go ahead and round forward over your crossed legs. If you have blocks or other props, maybe building yourself a little platform that you can rest your forearms on. Just folding forward over crossed legs. Another kind of hip opener. Taking some nice deep breaths, feeling how The full breath in can almost create space between your vertebrae, or at least it feels spacious over here. We'll eventually walk the hands back up. If your legs are crossed, switch the cross of your legs so your other foot or shin is in front. And then we'll once again fold forward, maybe coming to forearms or just walking your hands out. Find the amount of support that feels right. And then walking your hands back up. Let's come on to hands and knees next. We'll do a little cat and cow. So you're on a hard surface, maybe using some of your props beneath your knees for extra comfort. Love a little knee cushion. So from tabletop here, we'll inhale to find cow pose, lowering the belly, lifting the gaze, lifting the tailbone. Eventually an exhale, bringing us to cat pose, rounding up through the spine, tucking your chin, tucking your tailbone. Inhales, moving to cow pose. Exhales, moving to cat. Keep flowing with your own breath, feeling free to add on any extra little movements along the way. Let's eventually end up in extended child's pose with your knees out wide and your big toes touching behind you. Sinking your seat toward your heels. If you still have your bolster handy and you want to, it could be a supported position here, bringing some support beneath your chest or your head, or maybe you kind of sit on some cushioning here. You might turn so that you're resting on one cheek or the other if you're up on props. We'll be here for a number of breaths, and then I'll let you know when we're halfway through so you can switch the turn of your head if you want. Noticing and practicing diaphragmatic breath from different positions can kind of help us breathe into different areas, or areas of the lungs. I want to say we're feeling a little more pressure on the back of the lungs here, when the front is a little restricted. It's healthy and strengthening to do this kind of breathing from different positions. Let's go ahead and switch sides. If you're resting on one cheek, go ahead and switch to the other. when you're ready, start to rise back up, tabletop. Let's straighten the right leg out to the right side and set your right foot down on the floor or the mat. If you have your blocks, maybe putting those underneath your hands, coming up just a little higher. We're just gonna rock back and forth here, stretching through the inner right thigh. You can keep your right foot down on the floor here, or you can kind of come up to your heel and continue this rocking movement, exploring sensation, moving throughout kind of that whole area. Okay. Go ahead and plant your right foot. We'll come up to kind of stand on that left knee. This is gate pose. So reach the arms up and overhead, interlace your fingers, then press and reach through the palms of your head or palms of your hands up toward the sky. You might lean a little bit one way and then the other. And then eventually we'll let the right hand come down to the right leg, side bending toward the right. One or two more breaths. And bringing your hands back down to your blocks. Let's switch sides. So bending your right knee, bringing the right knee back in, and then lengthening out that left leg, planting your left foot, and rocking a little bit here, forward and back. Your foot staying planted, or kind of coming up to the heel again and exploring some rotation through the left hip joint. Eventually lifting to gate pose, reaching the arms overhead, taking a moment here, maybe pressing the palms up to the sky again if that feels nice. Warming up for our side bend to the left, letting your left arm come down, reaching up and over with the right. And rising back up to center before letting your hands come down. Let's step that left knee back, tabletop, and then find a downward facing dog, grabbing the blocks here, placing them under your hands. Let's curl the toes under, start to lift the hips here, maybe pedaling your legs out right away, bending and straightening opposite knees. Breathing, maybe with even a little bit of sound here. And with an inhale, let's rise up to the tippy toes. And exhale, sinking your heels toward the floor. Let's do it a couple of times. Inhale, rising up to the tippy toes. And exhale, lowering your heels, stretching out our calves. Maybe once or twice more. We'll bend the knees, look up toward the top of the mat. Step or walk your way to the top. We'll slowly rise to stand, but take your time. Maybe letting your arms be loose, shoulders, neck, the head last to rise eventually. Giving yourself a little bit of a shakeout at the top, shaking loose any kind of stagnant energy, dusting yourself off a little bit, clearing out some cobwebs, literally or figuratively. I think I had a little spider web on me right now. Oh. All right. Inhale, bringing both arms high. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, bringing your hands up to the thighs. And exhale, we're gonna bring hands to the block, step just the right foot back and lower your right knee down to the mat. Let's start to shift the hips forward, coming to our low lunge. You could kind of work with this here, coming into your stretch, and then kind of backing out of it for a moment. If you like the transition from this lunge to our half splits, you could pull the hips back as you lift the left toes up off of the floor. You could shift forward to the lunge and back to your half splits a couple of times through. And with our blocks, maybe up on the tallest setting, at least that works well for me. Let's plant the left foot, curl your right toes under, and then straighten both legs. So we end up kind of in a pyramid-like pose. Your choice if you come up on that left heel so that your left toes are in the air, or you can keep your left foot down to get more of a shin stretch. You could go between the two here, flexing the left ankle, pulling the left toes up, and then stepping the left foot back down. And go ahead and bend both knees, setting the right foot back down on the floor, coming down to a lower setting of the blocks. Let's step the left knee back to meet the right, tabletop. Stepping your right foot forward this time, giving it a little bit of help if it needs that. And then we're shifting the hips forward, puffing the chest up. You can even come up to the highest setting of your blocks or your hands up on your knee. Good transition here from our lunge to our half splits a couple of times. Eventually, we'll plant the right foot, curl the left toes under, and then straighten both legs. Give me that kind of pyramid-ish pose. Again, the right toes this time could be up, or you could bring your right foot all the way to the floor, or a little of both. Bend the right knee and then step the left foot to the top of the mat, forward fold at the top. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step both feet back, lower your knees, and then come to a seat. We're gonna set back up for a restorative pose in a moment, so just make sure that you have your props close by before we head down to our backs. So everything kind of within arm's distance. Go ahead and lower yourself down to your back, pull your knees in toward your chest, and we'll just find a little bit of free movement here, circling your knees, finding massaging pressure all around the low back, the sacrum. And we'll set the feet down on the floor. We're gonna find kind of a restorative twist here. So I invite you to grab your bolster, place it right between your knees here. Let your arms come out wide. You're gonna scoot the pelvis over toward the left edge of the mat, and then allow your knees and the bolster to twist and lower to the right. Notice if it feels better right now to have your palms facing down or your palms facing up, or maybe you kind of oscillate between those two options. You could continue to rest your head wherever it already is, or you could slowly tilt your gaze toward the left, away from your knees. Choosing the right moment for you to come back up to center. We'll scoot the pelvis this time over toward the right edge of the mat, and allow your knees and bolster to start lowering toward the left. Grabbing more support if you want. And maybe again, noticing if your arms feel better with the palms facing down, or maybe with your palms facing up, or somewhere in between. Just noticing the options that are available. Notice any excess gripping or holding. See if you can soften. Invite a little more ease into the equation. Maybe letting your gaze slightly turn to the right, away from your knees again. Finding your way back up to neutral. Let's set up for our final rest. I invite you to maybe place your bolster underneath your knees. If you are somewhere where you can put your bent knees, your calves rather, up on a chair or a couch, you could find that instant Maui pose. Maybe bringing a little something under your head and neck. You can kind of tuck your head in if you have a blanket or a pillow, just kind of squishing the pillow to fit around your head and your neck, kind of molding it to you. So you're in a nice little hug. Feeling your face softening. Any tension near the temples, smoothing out and releasing. Noticing your scalp and the back of your neck. Release through the throat, the voice. Less effort in the collarbones and the shoulders. Stability in the arms and hands. Soft flowing energy through the torso. Relaxation in the right hip, the left hip, both glutes, all the connective tissues, and ease through the thighs and hamstrings. Ease in the calves, ankles, and feet. Noticing any lingering sensations of unresolvedness or tension, and seeing if the touch of awareness can help bring a little resolution or a little more ease to this moment. You are more than welcome to stay and continue resting as long as you want, as long as you need. Whenever you do naturally feel you're ready to reawaken, do so gently, inviting in simple movements, maybe wiggle a finger and toes, fingers and toes. Maybe a yawn or a swallow. Continuing to move in subtle or slightly less subtle ways. We'll eventually roll onto either side, fetal position with the knees slightly tucked in. Try not to hurry. Enjoying at least one more breath on your side. Eventually using the help of your arms to come to a seat, maybe back up on a bolster or props. Bringing hands together at heart center, taking just a moment to remember your intention if you set one today. May all beings everywhere be happy and be free, and may our own thoughts, words, and actions somehow contribute to that happiness and freedom for all. Joining thumbs now up at third eye center. Let's take a little bow forward together now to seal our class in. Thank you.